Hey everyone, welcome to the Hash8 podcast. I am the Bitcoin Broski, and today I've got a very special guest. Actually, we're supposed to have this interview a month ago before our little hiatus, and it got pushed back. And I'm glad today to finally be sitting down with Sergey Gerasimovich from Easy Blockchain. Sergey, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, my pleasure. So let's kick this off with just a little bit of your background. How did you get into the crazy world of Bitcoin mining?
Look, that's a very interesting question because I cannot tell you the same story as other people say. They've been mining since 2013 or like 12 and they knew all about Bitcoin a long time. I did not. I figured out the thing Bitcoin only in 2017 when the hype started. So I was at that time in import and export business, and some of our clients back in Europe, in Eastern Europe, they asked if we do have video cards for them to buy. And since we were moving freight, they said, all right, we can check this for you. And we did. So we asked, how much do you need? And they said, we need like 200 video cards. So it's fine, but I didn't know that one video card costs $1,000. So then we made one order, we shipped all those video cards, and then there was another one on the same size. I was like, okay, look, something is going on. So I had to ask them, why do you guys buying those video cards? So they were mining Ethereum on a large scale before the hype started here in the United States. And at that time, I wanted to understand what Ethereum is, what cryptocurrency in general is. And we saw there was a huge market out there for actually selling the hardware. So we started selling hardware a little bit in the United States. So we became an official reseller of GPUs from NVIDIA. We worked with the board members like Zotac, Sapphire. We also worked with ASUS, companies that been building computers for quite a long time. And we started selling that in the United States, and I could see that the market in the US is about to start take off. And then we needed to do something else because we had so many clients who bought the video cards and ASIC miners eventually that they wanted to host it somewhere. And they asked, can you actually put it somewhere to work for us? And that's how we got ourselves into mining. We leased a data center and we started hosting for other people. And whatever profit we made on those video cards, since it was a side business, was reinvested into it. Then we quickly realized that Bitcoin mining is a hardware game as well as electricity game. So that was my beginnings. My background, you will never believe, but I'm a linguist by trade. I graduated from a linguistic university, and I always talk that was a useful degree, but that degree got me here. So I could actually freely speak with people, doing business with people. So I believe that was a good part of it. But I always had a entrepreneurial spirit. So my first company was actually a translation agency. We were translating, documents for various languages out here. So I worked with multiple people who translated for us from different languages like Spanish, Portuguese, Ukrainian, Russian, whatever language there was there we were working. It was like 20 languages. But then I was like, I needed something more. So I switched my careers, and finally I got myself here.
So why linguistics? What led you to that degree?
Look, I was born in a very small village in Ukraine, and my parents always wanted me to get a good education. And in Ukraine, actually, almost everyone learns English from a very young age. So they hired me a tutor. But before that, I used to spend a lot of time with my grandmother because she worked as a librarian. And, my first book that I actually wanted to read, and I started to read very early, when I was 4 years old. So my first book that I actually enjoyed, reading and opening was a Walt Disney book, and it was in English. So I liked that so much, and I started learning the words, and my parents saw that, that works out for this kid. They got me a private tutor, and I was learning English from a young age. And since I learned it so well as I thought at that time, and the time came to actually find what I'm going to do next. The goal was go to the university and actually improve my, skills and knowledge, and get, deeper into that language, so I could work, on a higher level with international companies.
Smart. That makes a lot of sense. And I mean, hey, it played out, right?
Yeah, it did. Yeah, I think it did played out.
So how many languages do you speak?
Look, if you ask a linguist how many languages do you speak, that's a very complicated question, because if
Okay.
I say I speak 5, you may test me. And if I'm going to be bad at those, that means I don't speak them. But I do speak English, as you can hear. I learned Spanish. I didn't practice it for quite a while. I learned Spanish here with actually, I took classes. And I learned French when I was at the university. So I was fluent in French 5 years ago. Now I'm not fluent, but I'm sure I'm going to pick it up really quickly. And my native language is like Ukrainian and Russian, obviously.
Yeah. Well, I'll never test you. I speak one language, and that's English, and I speak it poorly. So, and I think I'm like the majority of America is in that boat. So I feel okay with that. But so you go to school, you get that degree, you start your first company, and then you transition into the import export business, it sounds like, and that's kind of how you found your way to crypto.
By accident.
Well, I mean,
by accident.
maybe by good fortune, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of how all these things work anyway. The thing that's curious to me is, okay, so you start importing and exporting, and you're seeing this pick up, and then somebody just asks you to host machines for them. Was that
Right?
how did that all play out? I mean, were you guys looking at doing hosting in the first place, and then it
No.
was a natural transition, or you just had somebody who was like, look, I want to order 1,000 of these and put them somewhere. Can you help me?
That was how it happened. We sold a lot of equipment in the United States, because we stopped working with Europe at all, because the demand was so high. It was like, why would we bother shipping those GPUs out if we can just sell them here?
Right.
So we started selling them here. Then we touched Chinese market. We started bringing the ASICs from Hong Kong. And all those clients who were buying from us were more retail investors, moms and pops shops, who actually literally ran their ASICs in in restaurants, in some stores, corner stores they had.
Yep.
And they realized how much hit can come out of those ASICs and how loud they are. So they asked us to host those miners with us. And one of the clients was actually hosting at the body shop. And since their primarily job was to change oil, and there was a lot of oil around, so ASICs get too dirty really quickly. And they bought a lot of miners, and they say, okay, we need to do something with them. Can you help us? So we put them in the data center. And then we quickly realized that that's not really going to work because of the contracts the data center guys wants you to sign are very complicated. And there is the reason to that. They want you to stay there and pay them one way or another, because
forever.
Yeah, they're going to do something with your hardware. So there was a natural demand from people who the hardware was sold to, and they say, can you do it for us? So everything was so quick. So we had to make quick decisions, and we did. And we did decide to take, on that business and get into that world.
So jumping into hosting, did you guys start with containers, or did you like stand up a pole barn or buy an existing structure and convert it?
So first thing was a data center. So I learned a lot. I actually visited every data center in Chicago area. So I figured out how those things worked. And what was actually very surprising to me, that when I was already visiting the data centers, I could see megawatts of GPUs running already. So some people were, earlier than us.
Right.
And we wanted to bring ASIC miners only at that time. So we leased data center. There was a year-long contract. We failed to pay because Bitcoin, it dumped.
Yep.
But then we knew that electricity is a play. So we started actually trying to design some mobile data centers. At that time, there were not many players. There was BitFury, who were selling their data centers for $1 million, all
Mm-hmm.
included.
Yeah.
And there was another company who was doing immersion cooling. It's called Green Revolution Cooling. They were selling like for $600,000.
Yep.
And so it's like, okay, it's a market. Let's build a mobile data center for 50 grand to sell it for 80. We're going to beat the market. And we did. We did build just a container. That was actually a very successful one. There was 300 kilowatt containers. We still even run them from 2017. They work perfectly. You know, we had all ABB breakers out there, all good electrical infrastructure. They run. Just some fans had problems. So we
Mm-hmm.
designed that, and then we wanted to design something bigger. We actually wanted to get into the mining business ourselves. So not only hosting, that's customer service, that's the business working with customers, especially with people who don't really realize how quickly this market moves and what can
Right.
happen. They cannot predict the risk, and they are actually risk averse. The reason they got into this business is because they thought it's more as a passive income business, but it's not.
Right.
So we designed mobile data centers starting from containers, and then we got to try actually something else, because we had a goal to do mining using a wasted natural gas at the beginning. So we had to go to Texas, and I actually lived in Texas, so I know how hot it is there during the summer. So we had to build something new. Immersion cooling was not the answer for us because of the cost. So we had to use specific materials like sandwich panels. This is the same material which is used in refrigerating rooms. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
allow air or temperature to go out or come in. So that was our first, like I would say, specifically designed by us model, and it
Okay.
worked well. We still use it, but now we're in a different stage, obviously.
So that is another thing. I mean, there's a lot of people in crypto who are self-taught, right? I mean, it's a new
Yes.
industry. It's not like there's a university you can go to on, Bitcoin mining 101. What was the transition like for you going from just buying and selling hardware? I know that's dumbing it down significantly, but buying and selling hardware to basically having, electrical engineering and refrigeration and HVAC, all of these
Yeah.
more technical fields bundled into your business. How did that work?
Look, that's probably a big reason we actually jumped into this was because of another partner in this business. So he had experience in manufacturing and working with cabling. He actually ran a factory of manufacturing cables before. And he saw very clearly that we can build a manufacturing facility from scratch. And that was his part from, I didn't even want to touch that. I was like, oh my God, I don't understand anything in it, but I did understand Bitcoin and I did understand marketing and sales more. So we probably were like a perfect match over there. So he was handling manufacturing instead of, he said from the beginning, we can do it and let's do it. And we did. So but you're right, there was a lot of work involved, electrical engineering, tests, and everything has to be tested on us. Basically, you build a mobile data center, you spend $50,000, you ran it, it doesn't work. Okay. You retrofit it, you spend another 20 grand. Okay, it works. Boom. Okay, now you know the cost is 70. Now the job is to make it 50 again next time. So you take another 50 grand, you invest another 50 grand, and so on. So that was a process, and we were founded in 2017. So it's been some time, especially in this industry. 3 years is a long time.
It's an eternity. I mean, lives have changed
True.
so drastically from 2017 to now. The up, the down, back up now it seems, but it's good to see that you guys are thriving at this point. So the solution that you built in Texas, and I know you guys have since expanded and grown. How has the company morphed since then? I mean, was that like right at the kind of the beginning of the hunt for natural gas, I would say, when people were deploying a lot of these containers on, natural gas sites?
Yes. So, well, first, I just want to make, we didn't build it in Texas. We wanted to build for Texas
For
specifically.
Texas.
Yeah,
Okay.
for Texas. We didn't go to Texas. There was much more opportunity all around. And look, honestly saying, when we started, so the first year, 2017, well, was a very hectic year. We didn't even realize what's going to be happening next.
Right.
But in 2018, electricity was the play already. Everyone knew that. So I hopped on the plane. We visited every place here in the United States. We went to Wenatchee, Washington, Georgia. Where else we went? Montana. We went to upstate New York.
You get
We
to see
went
all the
everywhere.
hot spots.
Yeah.
You're like the
I
best
mean, look,
places in the United States,
yeah, we analyzed data and we went there and we saw we already late for the party. In terms of bigger miners already were there. And as well as when we calculated the numbers, you have to do a connection, build out, transformers, all that. And you can see that your price per kilowatt is already around what, $300. I'm just making up numbers. I'm not sure exactly now, but like, let's say $300 per kilowatt for connecting to a standard grid. And then on top of that, you have a bunch of risks that come with that. Members of co-op change their mind.
Mhm.
People don't like you, or they do like you and they want something else from you.
Right.
There are multiple things that can change. And then we calculated the numbers for actually generating electricity. The natural gas price was very low at that time. So we looked into this and it's like, okay, we saw that price per gas is very low. So even if we were buying the gas from pipeline, we could generate electricity at very low cost. And technically our cost to connect would be, I think, double of what it would be to connect to the grid, but we would own generation assets and we would control everything and people would want to work with us. And the flaring idea actually was very early, very early. Honestly saying, the first thing we started doing was Googling that, figuring out. No one was even close to doing what we thought we want to do. And our first press release actually about flaring was in 2018, April 2018. That's already when we were on top of it, because that's when we already ordered our, well, we didn't order, we actually found the partner who's going to supply us generators at that time, because they are very expensive.
Mm-hmm.
So then we saw the flaring problem and that those two things actually can be combined very well. Big consumer of electricity and big, waster of energy. So we could combine that. We learned a lot. We've dealt with multiple oil producers. There are multiple risks, capex risks, a bunch of things, right? But in general, we're still in that path, even though we, after or before pandemic or during pandemic, we did change our approach a little bit. Right now, we work with more as smaller producers than with the larger producers. And we use the gas, which is stranded or trapped. That's a better, quicker project as of now. Because when it touches flaring, that's a lot of regulation.
Okay, so I definitely want to talk about that. When it comes to working with the smaller producers, is it just because there's less administrative hurdles that you have to get through, less decision makers?
That is the first thing. And then the second thing is the capex from our side. For example, if we work with a multi-billion-dollar producer, they expect you to come and solve the problem, let's say in the whole Bakken region. And that problem can cost $100 million to solve in capex, and then another few $1,000,000 a month in operational costs.
So they're not looking to like just chip away at it?
Look, many men, many minds in this, as they say.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know, by the way. That's, I mean, I have no preconceived notions of that. It just strikes me as, I don't know.
Every producer is different. There are some producers who say, those who flare, they say, take away the flare gas and let us show the numbers alone. There are some same scale producers who would say, we want to get paid for that gas. And there are some producers who would say, provide us a service, pay us we will pay you for the service. The
Mm,
market is very new and immature. No one knows what we sell yet, right? So for
yeah.
example, in software right now, the market is very mature. You know that you buy subscription a month. It's perfect. Everyone knows if I build a new company, I would sell a subscription a month. It's the most important part is how I'm going to structure that pricing. In
Right.
our business, we don't know even what we're going to sell first. So we're not even talking about structuring the prices. We don't know how we sell it. And it's not us not knowing. It's in general, the industry is still becoming something that may become a market where more participants will come.
Well, that makes sense. So as you guys are growing and educating, are you finding that these conversations are welcomed? I mean,
Yes.
small or large, are they looking for solutions?
Look, the good thing, it's very interesting that you brought up educating. We actually had an article in bitcoin.com, I think a few months ago, and it
Mhm.
actually was saying specifically that we are educating the small oil producers and gas producers, because that's a big part of our job. We have to optimize our process of explaining to them that this is something they would need, or that's something they already need today. It takes time, of course, but specifically in situation when we can show them that there is a pure benefit to them from different aspects, financial aspects and regulatory aspects and environmental aspects, they are very clearly on the same page with us then. So now that's what we've figured out, that this niche is actually a good one for us to work on, working with the smaller gas producers, and they are welcoming. We actually each gas and oil producer who we talked to reached out to us. We haven't reached out to any of those.
I mean, it seems logical, right? And I mean, I don't know what's the saying, common sense is a superpower. I, maybe we're just all too close to Bitcoin to,
Yeah.
see it. But to me, it always just seems like such a logical thing. I know there's costs involved, but you're able to make that back, and you're offsetting expenses of flaring or getting rid of the trapped gas in one way or another. So as the education picks up, and like you said, the market's still developing.
Yes.
Um, what do you think is what's going to get us over the hump? Is there like regulation that's going to have to get passed to where all of these guys just kind of, get it together and start making these purchases? Or are we just got to keep chopping at the tree?
Uh, Probably all over the above, but more specifically, I I doubt we need more regulation for Bitcoin. Bitcoin is one of the most regulated assets out there. It's been regulated by multiple agencies in this country and in every other country. So much regulated they don't agree in between each other what they regulate. Some regulate money, some regulate commodity, and some regulate virtual money. But in general, uh, I think the more of these locations we're going to install, the better it is for the market, because then the producers going to start talking in between each other, and they would not need a showcase location on their site to prove them it works. As of now, what we have that every producer wants a showcase. They start smaller. They want to go big, but they want to see this actually really working. Even though we tell them, okay, we do have a location, these are the numbers, you can come and visit that, and they say, fine, but I want to see it. I want to see it on my pad. And the more we're going to install of those, I think they will actually start sharing the information, sharing the picture, and word of the mouth would start bringing this business to a totally different level.
Like, I mean, I gotta say, you guys are doing a great job of it. There are many people leading the charge in this industry. You guys are among them. So let's talk about these containers. Like, you've talked a little bit about how There are certain specific materials that go into them. Um, but these have come a long way, right? From just being like a 40-foot shipping container that was shoved full of machines with some cooling element to it. How are you guys building your containers to separate yourself from the competition?
Short answer, hard work. But yeah, look, we went through different stages of development. We use containers, and we actually do use containers for some smaller location as well, because it's quicker. Lead time is important. But our mobile data centers, they are built from high-end materials. And I'm not talking only about sandwich panels. I'm talking about actually shelving and electrical infrastructure. Electrical infrastructure is a big deal, specifically when you work in the oil field. Imagine you work in the oil field where there is natural gas, and the chance for something to blow up is very high. So you need to make sure that everything in your mobile data center runs smoothly, and if whatever happens, any surge or any spark, it will be actually protected and the breaker will trip, so we don't have any uh, even possibility of fire out there. So
Mhm.
that was our main thing, and that's one of the reasons we started building it in Europe, because we did partner with the distributors of Schneider Electric breakers, and we use a breaker for each miner in the mobile data center. So we have three levels of surge protections out there. So we have main breaker, then the cable goes to a section, then the section has the cables, and those cables are protected by each breaker individually. So that helps us to make sure that whatever happens, we on top of it and we can control it. That cost that comes with a cost.
Sure.
It's much higher price than whatever we can see. Well, it's not much higher price, it's much higher cost for us. The price is still competitive. We are actually on the same level with other guys, even though our product is of very different quality. And we build it, right? So we build the box according to the measurements we need. I mean, if, for example, you come to us and say, look, I have a 1.5 megawatt project coming on, and I want my box to be equipped with 1.6. I want to have 100 extra kilowatts spare out there. Can you do this for us? We could do that for you. Not probably specifically in this case, but I'm sure like we would work with every customer and we would meet their needs. And we have a group of engineers who are working for us, not just subcontracted, but work for us. And those guys would spend some time, maybe a few nights, to figure out what you need, right? For example, we had one lead that asked, can you guys do us a container that would work on M30Ss and S19s half and half? And we said, yes, we could do that, but we need to make sure that you guys understand that S19 and M30S, they are different miners in general. And it's not only about cables out there, it's about airflow.
Mhm.
It's about how that airflow gonna go around. Either we are actually measuring the RPM of that fan in S19, or we're measuring that fan in M30S or whatever that model could be. So there are a lot of actually small dots that we need to connect out there. But in general, I mean, to sum up, probably the biggest thing with our mobile data center, it's not made of steel. It's not a container. So it actually can run in much hotter climates without extra airflow out there. That's number one. Number two, quality of the components inside and experience. We build it for us. It's our product. We build it specifically for us because when we're going to go to the stage of scaling, we need to make sure that we control the supply.
Right.
And scaling is already actually happening in our business.
So how has scaling been with the hardware bottlenecks that there are right now? Are you guys finding issues in getting these constructed, or are you just simply delivering the containers and then the customers are handling the actual install of the mining machines?
So two different businesses. We do sell containers for mobile data centers for customers, and they handle that on their own. We provide them support, obviously, and good warranties and everything. But then about our business, where we actually mine ourselves on natural gas, that has been mining equipment has been a problem recently, obviously. And look, we always knew that would be a problem at some point because the companies that manufacture hardware, their business model is still not clear to me, for example. I mean,
But it's compete with your customers, right? That's
yeah, well, yeah, we can get into that, but I still need to get miners from them for October. So I'm
we'll be delicate with that then.
yeah, right. So it is a problem, but look, uh, the mining has become institutionalized. It's period.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, you have to be on the top of it. We have the news out there. One company bought miners for $30 million, another one for 20. And guys like us who want just, buy 500 miners, for example, kind of not in the game anymore. And look, those big guys who buy that, they most likely finance it with some companies out there. That's not even their cash. What we do, it's our cash. So we actually want to make sure that we buy the right hardware at the right time. For them, it doesn't matter. Mostly, I'm referring to the public companies that buys bunch of miners just to spoof their stock price. And yeah, no, literally, that's what's happening. So in our
Yeah.
situation, we are not on the level that, let's say, we need 5,000 miners right now yet. But those that we need a couple hundred miners here and there. For now, we are figuring that out. Obviously, with the help of resellers, local resellers, resellers abroad. But I'll tell you, in order to make this business actually attractive to real money, to people, to oil producers, those that I just mentioned, everyone has to be comfortable that there would be equipment, and that equipment, it's fine to pay a premium on top of it, but we need to make sure that when you tell us that the deposit is 50%, and the next day when you wake up to make a deposit, they say it's already 80%. So make sure that there is actually a good customer client relationship, but not just hey, I have a big checkbook, sell it to me. Because at some point, those big checkbook guys, may not have those checkbooks anymore.
Well, and I mean, ultimately, it just gets towards more centralization of mining. If we're going to operate like that, then that's what's going to occur. I think there just needs to be an overall decrease in the fuckery in the mining market. I think that's just where we need to get. The price of ASICs being pegged to Bitcoin is a problem. Right now, there's internal struggles with Bitmain, so I don't want to rain on their parade too much. I know they've sold a bunch of machines and they're struggling with shipments, but there's a lot going on there. And then I think WhatsMiner is just trying to keep pace with demand right now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there was talk, or somebody had tweeted about the potential for a new ASIC manufacturer coming online soon. Have you heard anything about another manufacturer other than the majors that are already out there?
So honestly saying, I hear this news once a month or so.
Okay.
But generally, I don't know. I wouldn't refer specifically to the manufacturer you were talking about. I'm not sure. But I know there should be more bigger players out there. And there are some guys who actually reached out to us a few years ago that they were about to make miners and they were asking for pre-orders. And they actually did build those miners. And I couldn't believe them they did. So we would need more diversification of that. And not only Bitcoin.
So just to jump in on that. So they built those miners, they shipped them, right? Did they just not take? Were they not good enough quality? I mean,
they're good quality, but you see that the business works the way that you go to TSMC or Samsung or GMO and you need to place an order for 7 nanometer chips. And GMO, whoever sells those chips, says, okay, place an order for $50 million and we'll deliver you the chips. If you don't want, fine, we'll sell them to Apple. So that's what happens. And those smaller guys, they need a lot of capital to start building it. So that capital can be taken either from venture capital or private equity. And when they pitch this business to outside money says, so if Bitcoin goes down, we might lose all our money. What's in it for us, right? It's too much of a risk. So that's why I don't see other players coming out of nowhere and started doing this business. And I hope there could be more. And I would actually love if there is something from the United States. Not specifically they have to manufacture it here, but at least they would be here so they actually can feel the market, the sentiment of clients. They could understand how to deal with customers here, what the customer service should be and other things. And I'll tell you, granted, Bitmain has done a very good job recently. At the beginning, that was a disaster.
It was. They're shipping again, right? So shipments have started to come in. I know there was the news of one of those publicly traded companies got their shipment in, and the news from Core recently also that they got a massive order, and I think they have more that are hitting in the next couple of months as well. So it appears that things are starting to normalize, but yeah. I mean, I just hope we're getting to a point where people are actually able to run their businesses in a way that makes sense. Like right now, this bottleneck it's at a really shitty time. Like everyone wants to be up and running. I mean, they've sat through 2 years of bear market and struggled and suffered through. And now, everyone just wants to make hay while the sun's out. And I'm hoping that can all pick back up soon.
And look, the reason I brought up the American company, because I was a licensed reseller of equipment of NVIDIA and AMD. And when there was a hype for cryptocurrency mining, I, as a reseller, couldn't buy from Zotac more than 500, for example, I think it was 100 units. They had a limit per customer. They did. And I know that for sure. I worked with those companies. And Sapphire, for example, those Sapphire 580 video cards were very hot at some point. So the Sapphire made a deal that there's no more than 10 video cards go to each supplier. I mean, each reseller, period, or each buyer, period. That's it. They could limit that. So, and now we're just building monopolies out there, right? But instead of Bitmain selling the guys like me or other people, and look, we're not that small, I would say. I mean, we buy hundreds of miners that cost, hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars. It's not a small customer. So if they could sell us something, sell you something, someone else, and Core Scientific or whoever would get just 50% less than they got. Look, they have to compete with us then. And now how can we compete? So, and how do we know that they're not going to start reselling those miners later on? We don't know.
Well, and that's the other aspect of mining, which I don't think it's talked about a lot, is if you buy these machines and sit on them at a time like this, like let's say you place these orders and you were able to receive some and Bitcoin's at 9,500 and now it's at 12,000, right? 11,500. The price of those miners goes up too. So you're able to see a return on your investment in a different way, but using the same hardware. And it just, it's a way to get around being a registered distributor, right? I think that's something that isn't, I mean, it's not policed. There's very little that is policed in mining. There's just self-policing. And I think at this point that, anyone that has the means or the wherewithal to self-police is actually, complicit in some of the challenges that the industry is facing. Speaking of self-policing though, there was a lawsuit filed by Lancium against Layer 1. We don't have to get into the specifics. I don't know if you know the specifics. I haven't done a ton of research on it, to be honest, but how do you feel about the idea of patent law coming into Bitcoin mining? I mean, there's a lot of people that build containers. Is this something that you guys are talking about?
So first of all, we know guys from Lancium. They're doing a great job, and we've talked with them for a couple of years. They have actually, I think, tens of patents on the technology they have.
Okay.
So look, patent law It's just another business. So in software and hardware, there are different approaches to the patent laws. We have looked into patenting our mobile data center. So we've talked with multiple attorneys, very professional people, and the way they explain it to us that the mobile data center, that's a very hard to something that we could protect. But in terms of talking about Lancium and Layer 1, I don't know the specifics out there, but what Lancium has been doing is a complicated matter. To build a mobile data center, probably there are more people out there who can build mobile data centers, but to build the software they've built, which would be a demand response, is not an easy task. However, I do not know how they can fight that case because again, software is software. Mark Zuckerberg copied Snapchat completely in Instagram, and so what? Nothing happened. They can change a couple of, code lines out there, and it's hard to contest that. I
Yeah.
think that patenting something in the Bitcoin mining is useless thing. Honestly, saying waste of money. Why? Because patents, it's when you patent something, it stays the way you patented it. Whatever you change out there, you have to patent it again.
Right.
Bitcoin mining changes daily, literally daily. I tell my guys here in the office that we are a different company today than we were last week. And sometimes there are some things, some problems, for example, come up in, on Tuesday, and we are talking the company meeting how we're going to deal with them on Friday. And I'll tell them, look, Friday is still far from today. We still have Tuesday to deal with because things change. They are hectic.
Sure.
I think patent law is not that big of a deal, but that Texas demand response, it's a very interesting a very interesting application of Bitcoin mining, I believe. We have not tried that out. We did talk with Lancium, and we are still in conversations to start a smaller project with them. But we have honestly no clue how that's happening and what can be protected out there. But I'm sure there is a bunch of things that are protected.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to have him on to talk about this. I think I need to reach out to him. I just this is it's. I understand how businesses can operate in this way, and I can see the desire to protect what you've built. It will be very curious. I mean, Bitcoin. When people think Bitcoin, they think open source, right? They
Yeah.
think community. They think let's all work together to make the system better. And it's the I think the challenge to draw the lines between or the differences between Bitcoin and Bitcoin mining and core development and software and hardware development, right? There's distinctions there in different businesses and different models and different needs and desires. So yeah, I'm glad it's Lancium and Layer 1. Both have lots of money, so chances are we're going to get to see this play out the way that it's supposed to.
Yeah,
So.
and in addition to what you just said, that community and decentralization has been changing. When we see big guys like those venture funds that support Layer 1, for example, throwing money into this, guys like me are looking into this a little bit, like cautiously. Okay, so what if they are doing this now that might not work out, but what if someone going to throw another $50 million there and then another $50 million there? And look, that's already, it's a pure competition, but it's not. So it's a little bit very tricky because the same rules that apply to traditional business, specifically to Silicon Valley business, started to apply to Bitcoin mining, and that's already a different game because those rules here they may cost you consequences, and those consequences can be that small guys with the who wanted to support that network going to be not even out of business. They would have a bad taste about it. They would never want to
Yeah.
own Bitcoin because they bought that machine, that machine price went down and big guys bought all batches, it pumped the price and things like that, so they
Yeah.
could be victims of the market, yeah.
So, I mean, I think those are all very valid points. One question that I've got for you before we get towards the end of this, because I know you have experience with this hardware as well. ETH is pumping, and everything that's going on with DeFi is really benefiting miners. The ETH miners are making like bank right now. I think the last I saw was a 6-card or 8-card rig is doing, well, whatever. Each card is making about $4.20 a day, which for GPU miners is
Insane.
fantastic, right? So are you guys looking at potentially getting back into ETH mining, or are you still operating any ETH or GPU mining containers or facilities?
We do not operate anything on Ethereum, and we tried, but we didn't see that to be very scalable. And since the market is very changing, it's changing so quickly, we want to build our mobile data centers to be so versatile that we can swap hardware. So we did build. We didn't build it yet. We designed a convertible mobile data center that can be swapped from ASICs to mining rigs. But those mining rigs would be like more on chassis, those that are used in data centers.
Gotcha.
So for 6 video cards in one chassis, and you would install it. So those will be like bigger miners, which you would install there. Again, they don't use that much of an electricity, and the cost is high. The video cards are very expensive. One video card right now can cost, hundreds of thousands. It can be $1,000. And if Ether is pumping right now, true, but those miners, they were struggling for the last 3 years.
Oh yeah. Well, I was joking with a friend about this. Is like I've got a buddy that mines in Norway, and another friend had ordered cards from Ireland, and he helped with shipping. And like, just as a, hey, it was good chatting with you, he sent him a free 580, right?
Oh,
just
really?
like because I mean, like, what are you gonna do with them? He's got thousands of them that have just been literally, costing him money for years. And he just got someone, he's like, hey, just have one. And now people are turning those on, and they are crushing it. So
yeah,
I don't know. That side of things is definitely more dynamic. The GPU side, I'm glad that these people are making money. I'm glad that ETH is doing its thing, because these guys were suffering for a long time. So
true. Ethereum would move to proof of stake at some point. One way or another, it's going to happen. I know.
I mean, hey, look, they have it in their mind that they're going to do it. And I'm sure by, like 2025, 2026, they'll get it done. They will get it done.
I like how hopeful you are.
Yeah. Well, look, Sergey, this has been awesome. I've really enjoyed this conversation. Before we sign off, I'd love for you to share with the viewers and listeners how they can find you and how they can learn more about Easy Blockchain.
Sure. People can reach me out on Twitter. It's Sergey Gera, or Sergey Gerasimovich in LinkedIn. And our website is easyblockchain.net. And you can Google our company and learn more as well about stuff we do and we've done.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for coming on the show today, Sergey. I appreciate you, man.
Thank you very much for having me.
Hey, it was a pleasure. And to the viewers and listeners out there of the HASH8 podcast, thank you so much for tuning in. If you are watching on YouTube, make sure you smash the subscribe button and turn on notifications so that you can find out when we go live with new content each and every day of the week. And for the podcast listeners out there, thank you guys for your continued support from the HASH8 podcast. And until next time, we will talk to you guys all again very soon. Thanks for watching this episode of HASH8 Podcast, a HASH8 TV production. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing for more great content like this every day of the week. In addition, feel free to leave a comment below and let us know who you'd like to see on the next episode of HASH8 Podcast. We'd love to hear from you. Also, if you head over to hash8.com, you can sign up for our free weekly newsletter, Difficulty Adjustment. Every Wednesday morning, we provide you with the latest news and information on Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, and mining. Plus, each week, one newsletter subscriber will be selected at random to receive a free Ledger Nano S cryptocurrency wallet. So go ahead and sign up today. Who knows? You may be the next lucky winner. Want more from HASH8? Follow HASH8 TV on Twitter. It's the easiest way to keep track of our newest content all in one place. That's at HASHR8_TV. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you very soon. Please remember that all content appearing on this or any other HASH8 channel is strictly for informational and entertainment purposes only. You should not construe any such information as legal, tax, investment, financial, or other advice. Consult a licensed financial advisor before investing yours or anyone else's money.